Hi, everyone. I'm gonna sit down and get myself comfortable. My name is Jazmine Hughes. I'm a writer for the New York Times, and earlier this year I had the phenomenal privilege of profiling the one and the only Miss Viola Davis. I went to Cape Town, South Africa, and actually sat with her on set for The Woman King, and I'm really excited to talk to her about it again. So would everyone please join me in standing for our girl, the Emmy, Tony, Oscar-winning, Leo season, belated birthday queen, Miss Viola Davis. All right, everybody get their pick? I want everybody to get the... This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Okay. A little louder for me? That's the first time anyone has ever said that to me, but let's go. Hello, Miss Viola.
Hello.
It's so wonderful to see you again.
Thank you.
And I just, we really as a community are talking a lot about giving our elders their flowers, so I think we're all here because you have moved us so tremendously with your work. But for me personally, the opportunity to go to South Africa, my first time at the continent, to speak to such, a movie star, which I had never done before. But the best part, you guys, and you saw it in the trailer, was just being on set with dark-skinned Black women, as far as the eye could see. And it was an incredible professional experience, but it was like the happiest I've ever been in my life, so thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Jasmine. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. So, my first question is, let's just talk about how the story found you, because I know it took an incredibly long time to really come to fruition.
Everything takes a long time to come to fruition.
All right, so
in
real
Hollywood.
quick, I hope everyone has their tissues out because she's gonna be preaching, she's gonna be telling jokes, we're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry. Let's go.
This movie took 6 years, and really, that's a short period of time. But it came to me, Maria Bello, who has done a ton of philanthropy work. Maria Bello is an actress. She's done tons of philanthropy work in Africa and Haiti. But anyway, she presented me with an award at the Skirball Center in Los Angeles. It was the opening of the National History Museum for Women. And instead of just presenting me the award, she pitched an idea of Nanisca, this Agojie warrior from the Kingdom of Dahomey. And she pitched the hell out of it, by the way. And everyone in the audience stood up and cheered and shouted and did all of that. And I was like, yeah. But that was the first time that the story was presented out there. And then from there on, it just sort of started to take shape. Dana Stevens wrote the script. We pitched it at every studio. There are not enough hours to talk about the journey that it takes from a great idea to the time the movie makes it on screen. I always say that if you were a part of that journey, a part of that fight, a part of that battle, or even can witness it, everybody would support a Black movie. It's a lot of work. Actually, let me add this. The only stories that are less work are stories that have already been done. I'll leave it at that.
And, to what I was saying earlier, the idea of getting a film made with Black people, with Black women, directed by a Black woman, and again, starring so many dark-skinned Black women, especially a fair number that people have not heard of before. They're up-and-coming stars. And I also know that the actresses that you hired are from across the diaspora. So you had many South Africans, you had Americans, you had British. What was that additional like little chit like going into rooms and yeah, it's a black film, but doesn't star a black man, you know, or it doesn't come from like the 4 directors that we're familiar with. I mean, even though shout out to Gina, no disrespect. But obviously, this was tremendously difficult, and I can only imagine with the gender and the skin tone, how that added to it.
It's why it took so long. Colorism is alive and well and kicking. And it's alive in both subtle ways and absolutely blatant ways. And how it manifests itself in Hollywood is by the time you get to this, then in Hollywood, everything is value. Everything is what you've done before. Who do you want in this movie? Oh, we want, let me make up a name, okay? Shaniqua Washington. Who's Shaniqua Washington? She's a great actress. She's out of Detroit. She did this movie, blah, 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 blah. I don't know who she is. Well, I know who she is. Yeah, but we don't know who she is. So everything is about what you've done before. And because you see movies, TVs, you watch streaming, there is a deficit of roles for black actresses. So if there's a deficit of roles, what does that tell you? Then there's a deficit of value. So therefore, when you get in the room, you have to fight for every actor that you know, that you've witnessed their work, you see their value, everything is a fight. And it's got to be approved on every level. So you can imagine what this was with Lashana Lynch, with Sheila A. with Tuso Mbedu, with Adrian Warren, with Jamie Lawson. Everyone was a fight. Everything was a different conversation. And then once actresses are approved, then people begin to sort of scrutinize the work, or should I say the script. Is there a way that we could put a male in it that has a more dominant role? We said they are Agojie, meaning they were all female military unit. Yeah, but is there some way we could put a man in it? Preferably a white man, but even a black man, because once again, and this is not me being emotional, when you look at most movies, and you look at most movies that have made their mark, a lot of them, if they are black driven, they're black male driven. So all of that becomes a fight. And it's a fight. You know what? I'm beginning to feel that life is about fighting for your agency. So we're like, okay, well, we're not going to change the script, and none of that's going to change. So all of that was a fight. And then it's a fight to get the budget that you want, a proper budget, so that you can tell the story in a way in which it needs to be told. I mean, there are big, huge scenes with a lot of extras. There are horses, you know, there are fight scenes. It was shot in South Africa. I mean, and so then that becomes a fight. And the money that a movie is given is based on that big V word, value. You sort of have to know going in that the integrity of the story is more important than your ego. So all of that was a fight. And the great thing is, I'm trying to remember what I told Gina Prince Whitewood the other day. Because, you know, I just wrote her a text, and I read it back. I said, I love what I wrote. But I think I said something that said, life is a fight that's only made better by the people who are willing to do it. And so this movie was a fight for all of those reasons that I told you.
See what I told y'all? I hope you're writing this down. I'd actually like to take a moment and go to a clip of the film. So, whomever is back there. So, one thing that I learned over the course of reporting the story about Miss Viola, and I'll just take a moment to say that I work at the New York Times. There's people there. But anytime I would talk about the story, I would refer to her as Miss Viola because I was raised right. And all my coworkers were like, why? I was like, because I'm not trying to get popped. Anyway. So one thing I learned about Miss Viola in reporting the story is that you did, I want to say, like 97% of your own stunts in this film. Listen, you saw that rippling and stuff. And so, you know, for the same reason that I refer to you as Miss Viola, is part of the reason why it's so incredibly impressive. I interviewed the stuntmaster, and he was like, I've never worked with anyone like this. And you can see, like, her muscles had muscles. She'd be doing little pump-ups right before, just to juice, before getting on screen. And I don't want to make a big deal about your age, but, like, you looked phenomenal. You look phenomenal now, but what was that like physically going through that process?
I always tell all these young girls, I'm the OG warrior in this movie. Woman King 2, you're gonna see Nanisca floating out into the ocean in the first 5 minutes. You know what? I just feel like I started off life with everyone telling me what I could not do. I went into acting with everyone telling me the roles I should not be playing. You're not pretty, you're not feminine, you're not this, you're not that, you're not this. And I guarantee you, a lot of black women have heard that. A lot of black people have heard that. The thing about training, especially for this movie, is I don't care how much the fear is. You have a 250-pound man coming at you that you have to flip.
Because that happens to us all.
Let me tell you, you have to believe that you can do it. You have to tap into that warrior spirit. That part of you that believes that you're being a woman, being smaller than that person who's coming at you, that whatever it is, that you can do it. And that is what I loved about the training. Because let me tell you something, it was 4 hours of martial arts and weightlifting a day, 4 or 5. I mean, I was sprinting at 9.4 on the treadmill until I said, wait a minute, y'all know I'm 50-something, right? That I could die at any moment on this damn treadmill. I'm losing oxygen. And then the weights got heavier and heavier. And, but I did it.
And it's not just that you did it, but you did it so beautifully. And another thing that we talked about when I was doing this story was how much preparation you put into your characters when you're about to play a role. So, for example, in Doubt, when you played Mrs. Miller, you were in the film for 10 minutes, let's say, maybe 12. When she got this role, she went home and wrote a 100-page bio for this character, just trying to really descend into this woman to make her alive. And I want to talk a little bit about what playing Nanisca was like, but what was that research like for you? Because the most incredible thing, save for Viola, about this film is that this happened, right? These women are real. So we know that we didn't learn about this in school. We've never seen it on a movie or TV screen before. So what was it like as a deep researcher, having this wealth of information about black women?
The reason why you have to do a lot of research is you're trying to find out who someone is, who is not you. How do you find out who someone is? Listen, I love my husband. I have my family here, my daughter, everyone. They don't know all of who I am. They just don't. Historians don't know Nanisca. I don't care how many books have been written, you know, because a huge part of who you are takes place in the internal, okay? Takes place in conversations that no one was privy to. There is one book, and one book only, written by a white man called Africans of the Black Sparta, and which tells the story of the Dahomey Kingdom. A lot of that book, you have to really, really, really probably take a really good drink of vodka before you start reading it, because a lot of the women are referred to as bestial looking, overly masculine, but it is in the eyes of the historian that is written that, right? So you have to block that out. So I read that book. I think I've watched every documentary that's out there. Jazmine Hughes has a documentary. I've watched every documentary about the voodoo. I did all of that. And then the one thing that you have to do, and I know I sound like a geek when I say this, you have to rely on life. What are the things that you see in life? If you have women, the Agojie tribe, they were women who, a lot of them were recruited by the time they were 8. They were anywhere from 8 to maybe 14. They were the throwaway women, the women that the king didn't want to marry because they weren't attractive enough. They couldn't be controlled. They were not bad manners. And so they were given to the king to fight in the military unit. So what is it like to live a life where you can't have children, you couldn't get married, and you can't have sex?
She got y'all with that one.
And who's going to write about that, right? And if they write about it, what's their reference point? So doing all that work of exploring my imagination and what I know about human life, what I know about myself, it took months. We were in South Africa for 5 months, and we trained for 3 to 4 months. I'm going to stop there because I was going to say something. I said, Viola, don't say that, but go ahead.
I'm going to get her, y'all. Don't even worry. First, I have a favor. Could you open this for me? My palms are a little sweaty. I'm on stage with Viola Davis. But what's striking to me is listening to you. Thank you so much, Miss Viola. Appreciate you. Thank you. Oh, ooh, my babe brought me some water. Ooh.
You know why?
Love is love.
I put all that lotion on my hand before I
we were putting the body
on.
butter on. Want to come correct. But what's striking to me about listening to you talk about taking this primary text written by a white man and rescripting your understanding and subsequently our understanding of these women is that I think that, or after reading your book, Finding Me, a memoir in stores today, that you've done the same for your own life. In many ways, you were described in similar pejorative ways. You were, when you went into Juilliard, they wanted to cover your hair. I thought your lips were too big and your nose were too big. You're ugly, you're tall, you're big, whatever. And it just seems like, or I wonder if you took any of that personal work. You know who loves therapy? This woman right here, she's doing the work. That personal excavation, how did that map onto you understanding Nanisca? Or were those one and the same?
You do it with every character you get. You do it with every character you get is a therapy session. Okay, I'm just going to say it. You know, here's the thing. With our white counterparts, what we understand with white people is that they are human. What does that mean? It means they're complicated. It means you're not necessarily likable. It means you could be messy. Listen, I sat down in the theater in the 70s to watch Taxi Driver, mesmerized. It wasn't until Travis Bickle, I think that's the character's name, took Sybil Shepherd's character to a movie theater on his first date, and it was a triple X-rated movie theater, that I realized, wait a minute, I'm investing 2 hours to watch a sociopath? And by the end, I'm rooting for him. By the end, I'm saying, don't shave your head into that mohawk and try to kill that politician. I'm watching Meryl Streep in Kramer versus Kramer, where the first scene is of a child being left alone in the house with the door open. She leaves her child. Why? Not because she doesn't love her child dearly, but because she doesn't want to be a mom. They explore the deep recesses of what makes us tick as human beings. That opportunity is not given to people of color. And let me tell you, a lot of times, not all the time, certainly not the people in this room, sometimes we do it to each other. That we just want the image and the message. We don't want the humanity. I reserve my right to be messy. Okay? And when an artist puts pen to paper, the only thing that they are armed with is their imagination. And the imagination, just like the never-ending story, is a vast, infinite playing field. And as soon as you say, okay, but you can't write that, you can't write that. Does that have to do with slavery? Don't do that. Oh, does that have anything to do with, you can't do that. Does that have to, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Okay, now write. And then you have very limited stories, but not just very limited story. You have one-dimensional characters that could be dressed very well and have very nice hairstyle, but for me, I don't recognize them as human beings. So with every character I get, I don't usually have the opportunity to do it because of the way, a lot of times with the script writing, is very limited. It's a long story. But with my work, I try to humanize people.
I think you do it incredibly well. And actually, let's throw to another clip right now. One thing about this film that I'm really loving seeing on this big screen is it's such a delight to watch dark skin well lit on a screen. It's so delicious. And it looks so beautiful. And speaking, going back to what you were saying about expanding imagination, I want to go back to one of the first times you saw a dark-skinned black woman on your TV screen, which was Miss Cicely Tyson in the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. Will you tell everyone a little bit about what that transformative moment of seeing her on your TV screen was like for you? Because I think a lot of people are going to have that same experience in watching this film.
Well, I just think it's hard to see a dream when you don't see a physical manifestation of it. And that's what Miss Tyson was to me. My sisters are out here too. My sister Dolores, my sister Diane. They all remember that moment. I mean, my sister Dolores is smiling now.
Where are you, Miss Dolores? Hey, girl.
And not only seeing her do that work, that level of excellence, it gave me permission to believe that I could do it. I think sometimes you need to be given permission. I understand that a lot of the mentality out there is going it alone and manifesting it yourself, but I think that we need each other, especially when you sort of are in a culture that is so marred and weighed down by a history that tells you that you are nothing. So her with her lips and that unapologetic performance, and you know, I know her, I knew her. So I talked to her a few weeks before she passed. So to have that relationship was enormous for me. Sort of was like the big rope that just sort of dropped down into whatever pit I was in at that time and gave me permission to climb. And I think that it's sort of an awesome legacy to be able to do that for someone else. Yeah.
One thing that I really loved from being on set was the very last speech that you gave everyone on the last day of filming.
Oh, God.
And I wrote down a little bit of it. I'm gonna read it only because I know you can't read my handwriting, no one can, but imagine her saying it, so it's a lot better. The thing about what we do is that you can be transported back in time. You can be whomever you want to be. And you know, for Black people, sometimes the only thing we've had to rely on is our imagination. And what I love so much about this film, and about your work in general, is whether it's a tremendous role or like a small bit part, is that you widen the space so there can be humanity put into there. And I love the idea that what Miss Tyson was for you, you're not only for the women, the people in the audience who are gonna see this film, but for the women who are in this film with you, you know? And I just wonder, what's your relationship with them like now? For so many of them, this is their first time in a big Hollywood film, coming to the States, and I am sensing like a similar frame of mentorship that you had with Miss Tyson.
It's really hard for me to go on a set and say, well, I've been in the business for 33 years, and let me tell you about the time I worked with Meryl Streep. That's not my style. I see everyone as a peer. And Lashana, Sheila, Tuso, Adrian, Jamie, I have had them in my home. I'm learning from them. I always said with myself, you know, I came up in a time in this business where there were no streaming services. There was ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS. That was it. Any role on a breakdown is when casting directors break down all the characters in a movie or a TV show, and they'll say, you know, this is Mildred, she's 30, she's Black, she's whatever. If a character said attractive, just attractive, I wouldn't get it. Not only not get the role, not even get the audition. It was way more of a deficit. And there's a deficit in the business anyway, 95% unemployment rate. So in my brain, there is an engine deep in there that's working on deficit mode that a lot of these young girls do not work on. It's a very different world for them. So in my brain, I always thought, oh man, life is a relay race. Okay? Everybody's a great runner. And your job is to run the hell out of your leg of the race and you pass that baton to the next great runner. There could be a Lashana, a Sheila, Tuso, Jamie. I've gotten to a point in my life where I think that you, in every stage of your life, is that runner. So Viola at 6, who could really give a well-placed cocksucker motherfucker. but was very afraid, very shy, very traumatized. But she ran her leg of the race, she survived and passed it on to the 14-year-old Viola, who said, I want to be an actress. That's what I want to be. I want to be an actress. I'm going to be an actress, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to go for it, and then hit the 19-year-old Viola, who was terrified and said, I'm not going to make any money as an actress, I'm not going to make it. But that 19-year-old passed the baton to the 28-year-old who graduated from Juilliard and who said, you know what, I graduated, I'm ready to work, but who am I? Who do I love? What do I value? And that 28-year-old Viola passed it on to the 34-year-old Viola, who met her husband, the man that she's supposed to be with, and said, he's too nice for me. And then that 34-year-old Viola passed it on to the 45-year-old Viola, who then adopted a beautiful child who made me believe that I could mother her, that I could nurture her. And now I'm the 57-year-old Viola. And I believe that my whole life, I've been sold a bill of goods. That's what these girls have reminded me of, because they listen to their inner voice in a way that I never did. I never knew that my inner voice was a portal into the meaning of my life. I just always tried to shut her up. I want to say a line in the movie, but I'm not going to. These girls remind me not to leave myself behind. They've been an extraordinary inspiration. I think that sometimes we dismiss young people. But young people inspire me. They really do. If you got it and I don't got it, then you know what? Then you're going to inspire me to get it. And that's what they did.
What do you think? So, cocksucker motherfucker, for those who don't know, is the way Miss Viola begins her memoir. And what do you think? And it's incredible. And you see this woman before you, and obviously she's a tremendous actress, but once you read the memoir, which I truly, truly highly recommend, it becomes even more sort of astonishing that you've done what you've been able to do. And in speaking about expanding our imagination, you've also, I think, part of the reason why we, as a community, love you so much is because you've expanded our imagination of what's possible, right? But you had to do that personal work for yourself. What do you think that 6-year-old Viola in the very beginning of your book was running away from the mean boys at school who were chasing her and throwing rocks and calling her ugly and calling her the N-word, 6 years old? What do you think that Viola would make of you sitting here in front of us today? And did she have the imagination to understand that this was a possibility?
You know what? I was going to lie and say she didn't, but that would be a lie because when you look at my yearbook, I say I want to be rich and famous. But everybody says that, right?
Not everybody.
You know what the young Viola did that was really sort of extraordinary? She survived. And you know what? Sometimes that's all you have is the fight. And I think that when you stop fighting is when it's frightening. That even if she couldn't articulate it, she felt like she was worth fighting for. And I appreciate that about her. She would squeal. She would want to sit on my lap. And she would be grateful for all of the things that sometimes I have a tendency to overlook, like a well-stocked refrigerator, a nice swimming pool, my sisters here, and my niece, and my brother-in-laws, my husband, my daughter, who I can sit down and have a meal with. She would be grateful for life. Yeah.
All right, let's go to one more clip, please. I think inevitably, with a Leo and a Scorpio up here, we're going to end up talking about power. But I know that in real life, you're a pretty shy person. In interviewing Miss Viola for the New York Times, I was like, what do you like to do? She was like, eat. What else? Talk about what I'm going to eat next, sit in my house, talk to my husband, hang out with my family. And obviously, there's a divide between who you are in front of the camera and who you are in real life. But I wondered what playing this incredibly powerful role taught you about yourself and about your own power and how you can best harness it. And then I'm going to ask you how we can best harness it, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
I always get the hard questions. Sometimes I think I'm hard to know. I mean, sometimes you play a character and you don't have great revelations about yourself. I guess maybe every revelation is a great revelation. But sometimes I'm hard to know. Sometimes I feel that a part of me is trapped inside and hard even for me to reach until I'm in certain situations. Once you see the movie, you'll understand with Nanisca. And I think that maybe a huge part of that is trauma-based. A huge part of that is fear. And I think a huge part of that is life. That with every situation and every challenge, and there is a part of you that you absolutely put out there because it's unapologetic. You know, I could be funny, I can make great collard greens, I can tell people that because that's all the good stuff. And then it's all the other stuff that you keep. You protect, you hide. I would say with Nanisca, it gave me the courage to at least acknowledge that. And that's a hard thing to acknowledge, in my opinion, because she's a general. And she is training these women to go out there and fight and die. That's a hard thing. It is not possible to harness one's heart. And so that navigating it, teaching women to be strong, teaching them not to have tears, even though she had her own tears. I have my own tears. Is a very, very, very difficult journey.
And you can tell me if this is an impossible question to answer, but based on what you're saying, do you think Nanisca was hiding anything? And was there part of that that you understood about her? Maybe not. Just throwing it out there.
Yes and yes. You got to see the movie.
Okay, I think we actually have one final clip that I want to play so we can get a little taste of the movie. I really can't get away from, again, just seeing all these Black women on screen, and so many of these, like these themes and symbols of going into battle are familiar to us just in our everyday lives. And I wonder how, if at all, this film has changed the way that you fight your own battles, whether it's getting a film made, whether it's having to cuss somebody out because they're being crazy to you, whether it's getting a role, getting the money you deserve. Has it changed how you move through the world?
It's changed everything. It's like I feel like I have brought that proverbial sword in on phone conversations with my agents going, they want me for what? How much? Oh no, they have to come up off of that. I mean, yeah. It's buoyed me with courage. Courage to be my own advocate. And really hyper-focus. And, you know, I'm 57 years old. I've been in this business for 33 years. I love the work. I don't necessarily love the lifestyle. I don't want to be doing this for 30 years. I don't want to be working my fingers to the bone going, yeah, way back when, and blah, 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 and then I'm going into retirement, but I never got paid what I felt like I was worth. I never said such and such in a room. I never. There is a term that I'm using constantly that I was not brave enough. I don't want to use that term. I believe that I'm worth it. You know, and I'm telling you, there is something about training. There is something about training in martial arts and someone handing you a machete and then putting 7 big dudes in front of you and telling you to take them down. That forces you to tap into a part of yourself that you never even knew existed. And once that area is tapped into, it becomes an overflow and affecting everything from your brain to your heart to your confidence or lack thereof. It affects every part of you. And so it's hard not to bring Nanisca in the room. But I think, you know, a part of that also is being in the business so long and, you know, you get to, I think you become more of yourself as you get older. You do. You become more of yourself because, you know, you feel like you're closer to death. But so yeah, it helped all of us to tap into our warrior spirit, yeah.
And you've also referred to this film as your magnum opus. And obviously we're having a wonderful time reacting to these clips, but how do you want us to feel when we walk out of the theater? What are you hoping people go home with?
I don't do that. That's not my style.
All right, so let me ask a different question.
I don't do that. I mean, because I don't want to tell people how to feel.
Okay, I'll reframe it.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm good on my feet. All right, so we have talked about when you go to see films in the theater about Black people, so many of them are historic stories. Black people were invented during the Civil Rights Movement, and then we invented music, and then, you know, it sort of fell off in like the late 70s, early 80s. And like, it seems like, you know, Black people or depictions thereof are stuck in time. And when I interviewed you earlier in this year, we talked about how when people walk out of theaters for that, white people are generally like, wow, that person was so incredible because they achieved X, Y, and Z. It's like reading a history book,
Yeah.
right? Whereas you go see Kramer versus Kramer, you're like, damn, that person was having this human experience. Do you think that we will have a similar reaction to this film and not be beaten over the head with like facts about the Agojie warriors?
Absolutely, you will have a human experience. It is an absolute story. I invite people to feel anything when it comes to us. You know, I always use the Arthur Miller quote, which he says, I wrote so that people could feel less alone. You know, I think that sometimes we're alone in our thoughts and our feelings, and what makes us feel not worthy is that we judge what those feelings should be and who we should be at any given time. And our job as artists is to rip that open and to show, let me tell you something, show you what's going on in there. And it helps us to connect to that vastness, that pathology, which is the human experience, right? That's what I would like people to feel. Listen, there's a business and then there's a work. And in the business, the movie's gotta make money. If it doesn't make money, then it's not valuable. Once again, let's go back to value. Value. You don't see this movie and you say, we don't want to see this movie because A, B, and C. So you see another movie that has no representation in it, then guess what? They're going to do that other movie with no representation in it because it made more money. So, in the pursuit of wanting it to make money, you go out there and you say whatever you have to say so you get butts in the seat. We have John Boyega in it. We have Hero Fines in it. We have action. We have ba 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 ba. And the fear I always have, is I don't use the opportunity to say what I really want to say. And to be as honest as I absolutely can be, because I need for the film to make money. So we can make more films with dark-skinned black women in it. Okay? It's not like if you don't see this, then there's 200 scripts about dark-skinned black women and they're just holding in a closet somewhere at Sony Studios, at Paramount, at Fox Studios, or whatever. They're just waiting. Oh, okay. They don't want to see this. Okay, pull out A, B, C, D. No, there's nothing. So in the effort to promote this film, I'm trying to say the right things and do the right things, but then still be true to myself, to impress upon you the importance of these women. Yes, is this real history? They are Agojie, Dahomey, all of that. But more importantly, there's a story. And the story is worthy to be told and worthy to witness, worthy to be felt, worthy for the investment. You gotta see it. If you feel anything, then I feel that is everything. Okay? If you plop money down for a ticket and go in the movie theater, that means everything too. But I don't ever want to tell people how to feel, because when I saw Miss Tyson, I became an actress. My sister became a teacher. My other sister works at the Department of Agriculture. You know, you just plant the seed. You don't know how it's going to grow, but you have to plant it. So however it grows is how it grows.
Bars, my God. I think this is going to be one of my last questions. It's a little soft question, but between me and you and the 800 odd people that are here, how are you taking care of yourself? Because, I mean, not only is this, I'm good at my job, not only is this like an incredibly physically grueling ordeal, but in many ways it's the culmination of the evils that you've been fighting through your life, other people's problems with her, I called in the story, like classism, racism, colorism, and it's all like riding on, like I said, your magnum opus, a film that's a story that's so important to you and going to be so important to us. How you doing?
Well, very difficult to take care of yourself in this business. It's brutal. Because you're constantly asked questions like this. It's like socialization on steroids. Everybody wants a picture. Everybody, is saying, you changed my life. You gave my life so much, blah, 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 blah. How, and then they ask the most existential question you could possibly imagine.
She's talking about me when I interviewed her.
You know how you take care of yourself, how I've taken care of myself? Because I actually don't feel that bad. I feel pretty good. I'm going to use a Glennon Doyle quote from Untamed. And she says, when it comes down to disappointing other people or disappointing yourself, choose other people all the time. In fact, it is your job in life to disappoint as many people as you can so that you do not disappoint yourself. So, I am basking in the no. I have written no so many times in emails and then pressed the exclamation point or the period, and then I've gone on to explain the no, and I have deleted all the explanation and kept the no. And guess what? Two things happen. People either accept the no and they go away, or they send the invisible army of people who are convincing you that your no is not good enough. And then you realize that the reason why you haven't said no so many times is because you've said yes so that people can love you. And then you realize that they don't really love you. My husband loves me. My daughter loves me. My niece loves me. My sisters love me. My brothers-in-law love me. My publicist loves me. She does. They don't love me. So then it fuels me to say no even more. And then in the saying no, guess what's happened? Space has been cleared up in my life. Space for the people who really love me, but more importantly, space for me. Yeah, I'm saying no. That's what I've been doing.
Okay, year of no.
It's my spa treatment.
Well, I want to thank you first and foremost for choosing yourself, because as a role model to me and to, I imagine, many, many people out here, it makes it a little easier for us to watch you. So thank you for inspiring all of us. And also thank you for being here with us today and for making this wonderful film. And unfortunately, we've run out of time, but before we completely wrap up, can we all give another round of applause to Miss Viola Davis?